alternate universe, the bizarro world, the Twilight Zone. When it comes to football, they are all quite real, if only in the mind of Dave Damashek. This is not the NFL. This is the NFL.
It's time for another edition of the NFL. This time with the answer to the question, what would have happened if the USFL hadn't failed? We now know that the once promising league went under early in 1986 after New Jersey Generals owner Donald Trump made like Icarus and flew too close to the sun by suggesting the USFL challenged the NFL head-to-head by moving their games to the fall. But what if the league held on a few more years? Let the record show the USFL was no jive. They had good players: Steve Young, Herschel Walker, Jim Kelly, Mike Rozier, Doug Williams, Doug Flutie, and just as important, the league had a lot of loot. I don't want to take too much creative license here. The reality is that by 1986, a lot of USFL teams were folding or partnering up with other teams. Teams like the Chicago Blitz, the LA Express, the Pittsburgh Maulers, the Denver Gold, all went the way of Dexy's Midnight Runners, Barefoot Kickers, and Orange Golf Balls. No big deal, though. All those towns already had NFL teams. By 1989, let's assume the USFL had boiled down to the Renegades, Breakers, Stallions, Stars, Gunslingers, Showboats, Bulls, Generals, and Invaders. With the Invaders in the East Bay and the Raiders in the LA Coliseum, Al Davis never moves his team back up north. Just as well, because his Raiders couldn't compete with the Oakland Invaders, especially after stars Bobby Hebert, Anthony Carter, and Gary Plummer are joined by 1986 first-round draft pick Bo Jackson, who forgoes the Buccaneers in order to play football in the spring and baseball in the summer. The Invaders replaced Chuck Fusine and Kelvin Bryant Stars as one of the UFL's juggernauts, along with the New Jersey Generals, who are bolstered by their merger with the Houston Gamblers and their coach, run-and-shoot innovator Miles Davis, and blue-chip quarterback Jim Kelly. Kelly through the air and Herschel Walker on the ground form a dream team to be reckoned with in any league. With Walker still in New Jersey, he never goes to Dallas, which means Jimmy Johnson can never trade him for all those players and draft picks that turned the Cowboys into an early 90s dynasty. By the way, Stars head coach Jim Morris sticks around in Baltimore instead of going to the Saints and Colts, and with his Stars a perennial USFL postseason participant, never turns the word playoffs into a question. And he nor anyone else never utters the name Baltimore Ravens because the Browns don't leave Cleveland when there's no vacancy in B-more. Now let's apply the timeline that the AFL followed as our yardstick here. The Chiefs played the Packers in the first Super Bowl 7 years after the AFL came into being, which would mean in 1989, 7 years after the inception of the USFL, the Invaders, after shutting down future Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Cribb's Birmingham Stallions in one playoff round, then running past future Pro Football Hall of Famer Reggie White's Memphis Showboats for the title, advanced to the first ever NFL USFL Super Bowl. There they get humiliated by Joe Montana's 49ers in a Bay Area showdown. 2 years later, though, the Generals go to the Super Bowl to play Buffalo. Jim Kelly outduels Bills QB Todd Marinovich to earn the MVP and score the underdog USFL its first ever Super Bowl crown. Then the Generals repeat the feat against the Bills the following year. Then in 2001, the XFL comes along. And that still folds after 1 year. That league stunk. And that is the NFL.
This is the NFL.